So I alluded to something in my last video, and I kind of lost track a bit, talking about hippies. But I said something along the lines of, there's more to this life than first believed. There's where we live on our day-to-day business, and the people we talk to, and the things we feel, and the words we say. But there's something underneath that, or above, or all around, that is also present. And I think you feel this sort of presence when you're open to it. And I think that's where a lot of ideas and kind of magic moments happen, is when we're connected to this higher source of creation, and we interpret it in our own way through our own brains, and it expresses itself in different ways. And I think there's a few stories online that kind of showcase that. One, there was this mathematician. Now I'm gonna butcher his name. I'll put it up on screen in some pictures. But he was called Srinivasa Ramanujan. And I would suggest you go on Wiki and read his whole story. It's quite interesting. But he was like a super genius mathematician with these outlandish theories and equations. It's a lot of techie business. I'm not very good at maths, or I'm alright, but not on his level. But I found it interesting how he recounts where he got elliptical integrals, equation stuff, in his dreams. I've actually got the quote here. He said, "While asleep, I had an unusual experience. There was a red screen formed by flowing blood. As it were, I was observing it. Suddenly, a hand began to write on the screen. I became all attention. That hand wrote a number of elliptical integrals. They stuck in my mind, and as soon as I woke up, I committed them to writing." So that was an instance where, he wasn't awake. He got these ideas from somewhere, his subconscious, and he remembered them. That's also happened in music. Paul McCartney has talked about how both Yesterday and Let It Be, two massive songs, really famous songs, and he got them in a dream. His mother came to him and said, "It's all right, let it be." And I think that's why they have the power to it. That's why they're popular, is because they came from this source. And it was a combination of his skill as a musician, and his dedication to his art, and his experience dreaming. They came together, and the product was that song that came to be. So I think it's quite powerful, and if we're in tune, if we're open to this sort of stuff, I think we do it without knowing. But if you know, and you kind of recognize how you feel, and if you're feeling motivated, you sit down and you get in the flow, I think it's really helpful, and it's good because it proves there's a basis of there's a foundation of life that we live on top of. And sometimes we think our problems are so massive at the time. We think, we can get quite down in the dumps and think the world is ending. But if we remind ourselves that we're just, temporary beings on this earth, who have some sort of magic energy in them, who, we're eternal, and this is all just for a quick pit stop. I don't want to get too deep into it yet. But if we realize that there are things that are so big and influential that we can't see tangibly, I think it's not black and white, this stuff. It's all how you feel and what you experience. Which is why I'm not trying to convert anyone by doing this, talking about this stuff. Everyone's got their own path. But I think eventually it's common when you feel that there's there's got to be more to life than just, this, on the surface. And some people aren't ready. I was talking to a girl at a house party once, and she was talking about how in lockdown she meditated every day. She got really good at it, and she did it consistently, and she had an outer body experience. And I was like, wow, that is the coolest thing. So she had this experience, but it freaked her out. It was like a bit too much, and she said she stopped meditating after that, and she never went back to it. And to me, that was like, whoa, like, that's such a cool thing to do, explore that realm. But some people, it's not right. It's not the right time, or, it's not what they need at that moment. So that's about this whole thing about talking about spirituality and different meta realms. You could get quite like techy with it. Proper techie. But yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at. So there's things in this life in which we don't understand, and maybe we're never meant to understand, but it's there, and it's always there, and it's always going to be there even after we die. And that's what interests me, is like what is this about? What sort of person will I be if I follow this and integrate this in my life? And I think it helps. I think it helps us manage our problems. And thing with meditation, thing with all that stuff, we lose ourselves, our mind goes over there, and it's a technique to come back and to go like, okay, it's all right, hold on, what's going on, let's go, So yeah, that's what I meant by different kind of forms of life. And when I was researching these stories, there's so much out there. There's so many little things like that. So many supernatural, mystical little experiences or documents, and, the gateway experiences, and people that channel, like Abraham Hicks. There's loads out there. So if you ever are interested and are intrigued by that, it's only one Google search away. So yeah, so that's all I had to say for today. See you later.